What's up, guys? Graylan Stewart here with another video. So obviously you can see this looks a little different, but I'm going to do a vacant land list from Propstream and show you how to do it. Okay, so let's get into it. Let me shrink this down a little bit and move it over, and we will get started, okay? All right, so first you got to type in where you want to be, okay? So I'll just put in wherever I've been last, Kansas City. So to keep it really simple, just go to the filter. So we've already got Kansas City up here. So we've got the area. Then obviously it shows you all of these particular, types of lists, but we're trying to do vacant land. And I'm doing this video because it was requested from a subscriber. So here it is. So click on the filter first, and you want to see this little quick list choices right here. Click the arrow and scroll down and you will see vacant land. Okay. So just keep in mind every selection that you choose will end up changing the amount of leads that you have. So for example, right now we have 23,953 leads just based on choosing vacant land by itself. Okay. So owner occupied in this case, I don't care. So it depends on really what you want, because obviously you can do this a few different ways, but I'll show you the basics. I don't care if it's owner occupied or not. So we're just going to leave those any on both of those. Now property characteristics, we do want to click on this and scroll down to vacant land. Okay, as you can see, every time I make a selection, the stuff on the right changes in the background. Okay, so property types. Now this is determined on what you're looking for. What type of vacant land are you searching? So you can just choose whatever you want. If it's residential, click on residential if that's your choice. If not, choose something different. There's different options here. Vacant land general might be a good one to include in with your residential if you wanted to. Or if you're looking for something in particular, like recreational, and so on, industrial, whatever. So for now, I'm just going to click on the residential like I already did. Now, obviously, there's no bedrooms and bathrooms. Let me move this out of the way so we can see this a little better. Let me get back on here. Filter. Sorry about that. So obviously, there's no building size, nothing like that. Now, you can do a lot square footage if you're looking for a particular size, like a minimum or a maximum. If you wanted to include that, you could put that. But for now, I'm just good with vacant land residential. Okay, so we are going to MLS status. This is super important in my opinion, because as wholesalers, obviously, we're looking for off-market deals, right? So we do not want something listed on market. So we got to click on the no button right there. Okay. Now, you could do, okay, well, that's good for that one. Let's just click back on that arrow. Pre-foreclosure, we're not worried about that. Owner information is important. Obviously, like I've told you on other list videos, we always want to choose individual, because if you choose corporate, those are just more difficult. And usually that's most likely an investor anyway, so they're probably not selling. But even if they were, you're going to have to end up finding the LLC owner and then skip tracing it. It's just a little bit more work, so it's more difficult. And trusts are almost impossible to find. And then mix just gives you a mix of all of these. So in my opinion, I would just choose individual every time. That typically works best. So let's go back to this owner information. So we want to see how many we have now. So we were at 23,000. Now we're down to 8,908. Okay, just gives you an indication of where we're at so far in the process. So if you end up wanting a lower amount of leads, then you can always choose ownership. Like if you want them to own it for at least 5 years or whatever, I don't think that's super important at this moment. But if you're just searching for people out of state, for example, you could always click that, but you may not have enough leads doing that. So let's click out to see what that gave us. So now we're at 699 leads. Maybe that's enough for you. I don't know. Maybe it's not. So I'm just going to click back on that owner information and you can just uncheck that, and it won't include that part. So after that, we're not worried about the liens of bankruptcy, because we're not looking for that. But valuation is super important, in my opinion. We want people that have equity. That's what wholesaling is. You have to have equity to be able to resell it to a cash buyer. So this again, and let me just click out real quick so you can see we've got 8908, and I'm going to click back on equity. Now this can determine how big of a list you want. So I like to at least have 50% when I'm looking at land, at least, and keep in mind, I don't normally buy land lists. I'm just doing this video to simply show you how it's done. But I do buy land. So what I like to do is, I want them to at least have 50% equity, minimum, because we're trying to buy land really cheap in most cases. So just doing the 50%, let's see where it took us. So we're at 83.89. And I think without that, it was even, let me just delete that to see where we were. So 53.89, without anything, it was 89.08. So let's just say, well, you don't want a list that big. So let's just go, okay, I want them to have a lot of equity, maybe 60% equity, and tell you where that list is. So 8,300, let's just say your goal is to be closer to 8,000. So, that's an easy fix. Just move that to, okay, I want people with 75% equity. See what that does. And that gives us 83.77. It didn't move it a whole lot, to be honest, which is good because there's a lot of people that have a ton of equity, meaning, let's just see what there is 100%. Meaning if they have a lot of equity, then they don't owe anything. So that's good. Wow, look at that. Even 8362 leads, 100% equity, meaning they have the properties free and clear. That's pretty amazing. So that's what I would do. So now you can look over here on the right on my quick search. So I'm searching Kansas City, Missouri. Quick list choices, it's vacant land. The classification of property is vacant land. The property type, we're searching for residential vacant land. On market, absolutely not. We don't want anything listed. Ownership type is individual. We don't want LLCs or trust or anything. And we searched 100% equity. So there you go. But yeah, if you were still like, oh, well, I just don't want to spend money for 8,300 of these, and if you have Propstream, keep in mind, you get 10,000 records every month. Okay. So, but let's just say, well, you don't have that many records left for the month and you don't necessarily want to do that many. You could always go back to the property characteristics, the ownership. And let's just say we just want out of state owners only. And that'll definitely change the list. So now we're down to 663, but you might say, well, I don't want that low of amount. So let's do out of state and out of country. See what that does. Probably won't change it a lot. It's 1,048. But, maybe you just want to not even hassle with those people because they're harder to reach. So let's just say, well, I don't want either of those. I just want to deal with local people. Okay, you can do that. Now we're down to 69.17. So there you go. That lowers your list a little bit. But anyways, that's basically how you do it. So now, if you wanted to export this list, for example, and I'm not going to do it because I don't want it to mess up how many records that I'm using because I don't want this particular list. But what you do is click on this. It keeps them all right there. You click on Add to List. So now you can say, it shows you can save up to 5,000 properties at a time into your marketing list. Click Continue to save the first 5,000 properties into your marketing list, or click Cancel to change your selection. So you want to hit OK, and then at that point you can name it. And I've showed you how to export and do all of that in a different Propstream video on how to do like the high equity. So you do it the same way, but really that's it as far as the land goes. But let me tell you how to actually evaluate land. So the way we do it, and since we're kind of done with this portion of it, I'll just go ahead and put me back in the middle so you can see me a little bit easier. So the way we evaluate land is pretty easy because most land people across the country would say that it's valued 20% of what the actual ARV is. So let's just say for easy numbers, you've got ARV is $100,000. So then in that example, the land would be worth 20 grand. So that's retail. Okay. So on the retail market, it's $20,000. So obviously we want to buy things to where, we have a good deal and we can still sell it to our end buyer. And then at that point, make money, and the buyer still has equity as well. So in that same example, $20,000, and I'm not a math whiz, so I'm going to get my calculator out. So $20,000, we want to be, the buyer's got to be all in at 75% or wherever you're at. So let's just say the buyer needs to be all in at 15 grand. Well, we want to try to buy it at probably 10 grand so that we can make 5 on it, if that makes sense. Or if your goal is to actually hold on to the land, obviously the cheaper you can buy it, the better. And then you can actually sell that land on a note, like a rent to own, or just sell it on the MLS for top dollar. Maybe you can get, the full market retail out of it, 20 grand. So nevertheless, if that same scenario, ARV is 100 with a house on it, so just the land itself would be 20 grand without a house. And the rate, if it's just a land, what you want to do is see what the market area is, a half mile radius. If all the houses are around 100 grand, then obviously ARV is 100 grand with a house on it. So this piece of land is worth 20 without a house, full retail. So we want to buy it at 10,000, 7,000, somewhere in that ballpark, because we try to buy 30 to 50 cents on the dollar for land typically. So that's how we do it. But anyways, hopefully that made sense to you. That's how you do. That's how you get the land list off of Propstream, and you could do it a few different ways, which I showed you. So hopefully that was helpful and beneficial. If it was, if you've stuck around this long, please subscribe. If you've already stuck around this long, definitely like the video. I'm doing this content for you guys, so I would definitely appreciate it if you give me some little love. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe, and I'll see you in future videos. Thanks a lot.